Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a single rich source. It's the official transcript from PlayStation's State of Play event, the one on June 4th, 2025. And we're going to do what we do best.
Yeah.
Just crack it open, find the most interesting bits, the big reveals, surprising details, and figure out what it all means for you.
Exactly. Think of this as your briefing on PlayStation's next year or so. Straight from the horse's mouth, basically. We'll cut through the shiny presentation stuff.
I'll get right to the core of what they actually announced for PS5.
Right. Our mission here is to sort of guide you through the key moments. What did Sony actually choose to put front and center? What details from the transcript really matter? And I guess, what does this specific mix of games tell us about where PlayStation might be heading? Filter the noise, find the signal. That's the idea.
Okay, let's dive in then. Let's unpack the State of Play because honestly, they covered a surprising amount of ground in about 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was pretty dense.
Gave us a look at, well, everything from brand new IPs, some with really unique hooks, to returning classics and some, major tentpole projects. And they kicked things off with a real mix, didn't they? It wasn't just like the huge blockbuster trailers right out of the gate.
No, not at all. We saw some really distinct concepts surface pretty early on.
Yeah, the transcript opens with some atmospheric descriptions, mentions of music, and this line, emotion running through our veins.
Which seems strongly tied to that first game they discussed, Romeo is a Dead Man. It immediately signaled we weren't just getting standard action games.
Romeo is a dead man. I mean, even the title grabs you, right?
Yeah.
Based on the transcript, what can we really piece together about this one?
It sounds pretty abstract, honestly. The character is described as a dead man, or maybe half dead, needs a dead gear life support system.
Oh, okay.
There's dialogue quoted about Grandpa's voice and someone asking if the character is a spirit. It seems like it's leaning heavily into, existential stuff, but through a potentially dark, maybe comedic lens.
Yeah, that quote, pretty lame dead man, definitely suggests a quirky tone.
It really does. Sounds completely off the wall.
And the release window they gave, coming 2026 maybe? That maybe just kind of adds to the whole bizarre charm, doesn't it?
Totally. It feels less like a firm date and more like, I don't know, part of the game's personality.
Right, reflecting its unconventional nature.
And that really set the tone for the variety, because immediately after that, the transcript pivots to glimpses of much darker, maybe more conventional narrative ideas.
Uh-huh.
We heard descriptions of a mission with an ethereal castle, a demon lord stopping human sacrifices. Straight up dark fantasy.
Okay, yeah.
And then another segment talked about a Shinjuku hellscape.
Shinjuku hellscape. Wow.
Yeah, and an agent sent back 8 years in time to figure out the causality between anomalies.
So that sounds intense, like a mix of sci-fi, maybe horror, with time travel thrown in?
Definitely. And these anomalies weren't just vague concepts either. They mentioned Digimon anomalies.
Digimon, okay.
Titans attacking the digital world running out of time, which could affect the human world.
So that suggests maybe ongoing stories in existing series, or perhaps new games diving into those darker sci-fi or fantasy worlds, bringing digital threats into our reality kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So starting with the super quirky Romeo as a dead man,
Yeah.
then immediately shifting to these dramatic, high-stakes, dark fantasy and sci-fi concepts, it feels like they wanted to show breadth right away.
Yeah, makes sense. Not just one type of game, but a whole spectrum.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's talk about something that I think is going to get a lot of longtime fans really excited. This is where it gets really interesting if you've been gaming for a while. PlayStation is clearly digging deep into its history.
Oh, absolutely. A major reveal here was Final Fantasy Tactics, the Evil East Chronicles. I mean, for anyone who played the original PlayStation Classic, this is huge news.
It really is. Final Fantasy Tactics is legendary, just a cornerstone of the strategy RPG genre. So what were the specifics from the transcript about its return?
Well, they were explicit. It's a remake or remaster based on the original 97 game. And the really significant detail is how they're doing it.
How so?
The release will include 2 versions. In one package, you get an enhanced version, sounds like a full modernization, improved graphics, fully voiced dialogue, refined gameplay, and much more.
Okay, nice.
But, and this is key, you also get a classic version that's a faithful recreation of the 1997 original.
Oh, wow. That's actually a really smart move, isn't it?
It feels like it.
Like they're trying to please everyone, the purists who want it exactly as they remember, and maybe newer players who want something more modern.
Exactly. addresses that whole remaster debate. How much do you change? Here, they're just saying, look, have both.
Yeah. Caters to different fans, might bring in a wider audience, and it's coming fairly soon, too.
Yep, PS5 and PS4, September 30th. Pre-orders started the day of the State of Play, so they seem pretty confident about it.
Definitely. And sticking with long-running series, we also saw Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, which, I mean, that series has been around since the PS1, right? A real PlayStation staple.
It absolutely has. And this new one seems to be leaning into, well, scale and variety.
Mm.
They boasted the largest character roster ever.
Okay.
And the courses sound pretty diverse, too. 10 different regions around the world, dynamic weather, even nighttime variations.
More characters, more environments. Sounds like a solid step up for the series. And that pre-order bonus was kind of fun, Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man is an early unlock. That little cross-franchise thing is neat, gets people talking. It hits PS5 September 5th.
Shows they're willing to have a bit of fun with these older IPs. And for action fans, especially those who like a challenge, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound was announced.
Ninja Gaiden. Now that's a name that brings back memories. Intense difficulty, fast combat.
Totally. What did the transcript say about this new one?
It's pitched as a challenging new entry. What's really interesting is the developer. It's from the makers of the Blasphemous series.
Oh, really? Okay, that tells you something right there.
Yeah, about the likely tone, the difficulty, the atmosphere probably.
Mm-hmm.
The plot involves dual protagonists from rival clans who have to combine their souls and skills against, you guessed it, a demon uprising.
Classic Ninja Gaiden stuff.
Pretty much. And a great little detail for the longtime fans. The soundtrack features guest composers from the original series.
Oh, that's fantastic. Bringing back original composers is such a good way to tap into that nostalgia and make sure it feels right.
Absolutely. It's PS5 and PS4 July 31st.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, looking at tactics, Everybody's Golf, Ninja Gaiden, that's strategy, sports, action, all legacy franchises getting significant new entries. It's pretty clear PlayStation is investing heavily in its back catalog.
Yeah, a conscious strategy, appeal to nostalgia, bring these IPs to a modern audience. Makes sense.
Okay.
Now, let's pivot from the established stuff to the completely unexpected. Some of these announcements had truly unique mechanics or premises that kind of made me pause. There was one in particular that just sounds absolutely bonkers.
Hey, I think I know which one you mean. Baby steps.
Baby steps, yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about Nate and this walking simulator that sounds like literally learning to walk.
That's basically the core mechanic, and they frame it as a challenge. You have to carefully place one foot in front of the other, which the description admits is easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
The main character, Nate, requires pretty deliberate movement, but it's also described as a captivating open-world experience filled with oddball characters. So the humor in the world might be just as key as the walking itself.
And the transcript mentioning finding the best toilet on the mountain, I mean, that's just peak absurdity, right?
Right.
It perfectly nails the vibe.
Totally. Take something completely mundane and makes it a quirky goal. It's coming to PS5 September 8th.
It really makes you wonder what playing it is like. Is it frustrating, meditative, funny? It definitely stands out.
It's certainly not trying to blend in.
Yeah.
We also heard about Hirami.
Hirami, right. That had a fascinating concept. From Bandai Namco Studios, Singapore.
Yes, described as a unique action-adventure title. The whole idea is saving your origami home.
Okay.
And the core gameplay is all about transformation. You turn into different paper shapes, paper airplane, frog, armadillo, ape, each with different abilities.
So you have to, fold yourself into the right shape for the job.
Exactly. Master the art of folding, as they put it. Sounds like it could be visually amazing and offers a really clear mechanical hook. Use the right shape for traversal, puzzles, maybe combat.
Yeah, that tactile idea of folding becoming gameplay is really intriguing. It arrives on PS5 later this summer.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of challenges in traversal, Kairen was another unique one, a survival climbing game.
Survival climbing, that's very specific. What are the mechanics there? How does it work?
The emphasis seems to be on meticulous planning. You're climbing a deadly mountain, and you have to manage resources carefully, specifically balance and stamina. One wrong move could be fatal.
Sounds stressful.
Yeah, endurance and careful execution seem key. And interestingly, you apparently encounter other climbers on the mountain. They mentioned meeting someone named Marco.
Huh. Meeting other climbers. That could add an interesting social or narrative layer to what's usually a very solitary activity. Are they helpful?
Hindrances.
Rivals.
Good question. The transcript also mentioned a demo was available the same day as the State of Play, June 4th.
Oh, that's great. Let people try out this, very niche concept right away.
Definitely. So these three baby steps for Omi, Kairen, they really show PlayStation featuring games with very specific kind of novel ideas, moving away from the standard templates.
Yeah, it adds some crucial diversity to the lineup, doesn't it? For players looking for something genuinely different.
Agreed.
Okay, so beyond the specific games, PlayStation also talked about additions to their PlayStation Plus subscription service catalogs, and they touched on something important too, game preservation.
Right. For the main PlayStation Plus game catalog, the big news was 2 Day 1 editions coming June 17th. First is Sword of the Sea.
Oh yeah, what's that one?
Described as a visually striking adventure from the team behind Abzu and The Pathless.
Okay, so that pedigree suggests something atmospheric, maybe emotional, focused on exploration.
Probably. The second one is FBC Firebreak.
FBC, wait, like from Control?
Exactly. It's a cooperative FPS set in the paranatural world of Control. So it expands on Remedy's universe, but shifts the gameplay to co-op shooting.
Interesting. Day one editions like that are always a big plus for subscribers, right? Adds value right off the bat.
Absolutely. Getting brand new games included immediately is a major draw.
And what about the Classics catalog, bringing older games forward?
Yeah, quite a strong lineup announced for this summer, actually, spanning PS1 and PS2.
Like what?
The PS2 version of the legendary immersive sim, Deus Ex, arrives June 17th.
Wow. Okay.
Then in July, 2 PS1 vehicular combat classics, Twisted Metal 3 and Twisted Metal 4.
Ah, perfect timing with the TV show.
Exactly. The second season premieres July 31st. Smart synergy there. Later this summer, 2 huge PS1 survival horror games, Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3.
Whoa. Proper classics.
And also, as part of the ongoing Days of Play celebration, the puzzle adventure games Myst and Riven arrived this month, June.
That's a really solid batch of classics, different genres, different eras, sci-fi RPG, arcade combat, survival horror, puzzles. Really boosts the value of that classics tier.
For sure. And the transcript also made a point of highlighting game preservationists at Digital Eclipse. What was the context there?
Right, yeah. What was that about?
It seemed like a segment focused on the passion and the effort that goes into actually finding, restoring, and bringing these older games to modern systems. They talked about the excitement of discovery, adding to the mystique of things like Mortal Kombatology, I guess the deep lore fans dig into.
Yeah, okay.
And they touched on how early game dev felt like the Wild West, no templates. Described classic games as an expression of who we were.
So connecting it back to the classics catalog.
Exactly. Framing it not just as old games, but as preserving important pieces of gaming history and culture.
Yeah, framing it as preserving cultural expression. That's a powerful way to think about it. Makes it feel more significant than just re-releasing old stuff.
Right. It elevates it. It's not just playing an old game. It's experiencing a piece of how the medium evolved.
Okay, let's wrap things up with maybe the 2 biggest bombshells of the show. The major IP reveals that definitely got people talking.
Yeah, these were clearly saved for near the end for maximum impact. First up, the return of, well, arguably the most famous secret agent ever.
James Bond.
That
but
was 7.
First Flight, that sounds like a really specific angle, an origin story.
That's exactly what they reveal. It focuses on Bond before he was the suave super spy we know. He's a young air crewman in the Royal Navy, set before the tuxedo and the martinis. The game explores his first steps into spying, his journey striving to earn his 00 status.
Okay, that's different.
And it's being developed by Iron Tractive. Their CEO made a point of highlighting their 25 years of agent expertise, which is a clever nod to their history-making, spy or action games.
That is a fascinating choice. Instead of the usual Bond adventure, it's about the making of Bond. Could be a different tone, maybe grittier, more focused on training, early missions.
Potentially.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fresh take on a character we've seen so many times in games. Avoids direct comparison to the established movie Bond, maybe. Carves its own path.
Yeah, interesting. And the other massive reveal, a new Marvel fighting game.
This one really had the fighting game community buzzing. PlayStation collaborating with Arc System Works. That's a powerhouse team-up.
It really is. Arc System Works, Guilty Gear, Dragon Ball FighterZ, visually stunning, mechanically deep fighters. Bringing them to Marvel is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The developers themselves sounded really passionate, talked about the tag fighting genre being sacred to fans and how they wanted to take on the challenge.
That sacred comment shows real respect, especially given the legacy of Marvel tag fighters.
And the way they described designing Iron Man, like a mix of sleek fighter jet, luxury race car, and a brick house, plus anime mech elements.
Yeah, That definitely sounds like they're bringing that signature Arxis visual style to these characters.
which is incredibly exciting for fans of both Marvel and their games. They did stress it's not just about looks, though. They want the gameplay to have a pop, something distinct.
And the biggest mechanical detail.
The format. It's not 2v2, not 3v3. It's a 4v4 tag fighter.
4 versus 4. Wow, that's really unusual for this kind of game.
It is. Opens up loads of possibilities. They mentioned the system adapts, so you could play as a leader and 3 assists, or tag in your assists to swap the leader. Could lead to some incredibly complex team strategies.
Yeah. That 4v4 thing is maybe the biggest gameplay hook they revealed. Immediately sets it apart.
For sure. And you could tell the developers were thrilled, calling it a dream to even be working with these two great partners. Highlights how big a deal this project is for them and for PlayStation landing that partnership.
Wow. Okay, so what a state of play. Seriously, we started with a half-dead guy needing careful steps and ended with Bond's origins and a crazy 4v4 Marvel fighter. The sheer variety on display was kind of staggering.
It really was. It felt like a very deliberate mix. You had the history stuff with the classics and preservation, the weird indie concepts, bolstering the subscription service, and then landing these huge blows with Bond and Marvel from top-tier developers.
Yeah, it makes you step back and look at the whole picture they presented. What does this diverse slate really say about PlayStation's strategy right now? Is it just throwing everything at the wall, or is there a clearer picture emerging?
Well, and this raises an important question for you, the listener. When you see everything laid out like this, from looking back at classics, championing quirky indies, boosting PS Plus, and making these massive IP plays, how does this broad, maybe slightly scattered approach resonate with your expectations for PlayStation's future? Does this mix feel like a cohesive vision, or maybe something else entirely?